Coming in. It's mild out there today. I don't even have the heat on. Can you hear the water? I imagine you can. Um, I could see how my life could look shitty to somebody who's all about material. Uh, if you're all about your fucking 3-story house or whatever, you've never known peace. You're filling up an emptiness in your soul with possessions which almost seem to fill the void sometimes. They give you the dopamines and stuff like that, and it can give you amusement for a little bit. But usually those people have more than they could ever use, have to spend more time paying for it than they could ever have, so they don't get any time to use it anyway. Even if they did have the, I don't even know, have enjoyment out of it that they thought they would have. Most times, like going to somebody like that's garage, and it's, you know, there's brand new skis that have been used once, brand new weight set that was used once, brand new stereo systems that were used once, brand new side by side that maybe gets used a couple times a year, snowmobile gets used once a year, the jet skis covered in dust. God knows when they ever got used. They just sit there most of the time. Just shit like that, like piled up. I know a bunch of people like that, and they're far from happy, and their wives are far from happy. In the relationships and stuff like that, and they think that they're gonna fix the relationship with all this stuff. Stuff usually clogs your brain. You're thinking about it all the time. You're keeping all that stuff in there, even if you don't realize that it's in there. You're constantly having to keep a categorize, you know, like a little file cabinet of all that junk. You get to have so much junk that files get buried, and you wouldn't even be able to remember them when you go look through the garage. Oh yeah, wow, I like snowboarding that one time. Look at that fucking $1,000 snowboard I bought for one winter. Um, so I get downtime where I'm down, you know, but I mean, I'm not stressed. The van could be a little bigger and my son could be in here. That would be a lot nicer. You know, a lot bigger for 2 people. But I got another, probably a year before. Well, this year he can, March, he'll be able to make his own choices. He'll be 12. I'm not set up for him yet, but that's fine. I've been set up for him his whole life and never ever was able to get him. And I'm sure that he won't come when he's 12. He'll be 15 before he runs away. Depending on COVID and all that stuff, of course. which I don't think is going to permit them to be able to run away, because we're heading into a depression. So people are going to have to bind together, not most people, right? Unless you got like a raft of skill that you've gained over the years, then you're not really going to be. And even then, you're better with more people. Right? You could be skilled as you want, but you're always lacking in something, right? Sure, I can build everything and all that stuff or whatever, and make shelters and fires and fish and all that, but I don't know how to gather roots or fucking watch berries and all that kind of stuff. So, right, another knowledge set is always good, because nobody can know it all. Oh, well, I guess you could, but yeah, anyway, so most people are just going to have to stay in communities and really try to help each other out, look after each other, and then you're going to have, the criminal with no policing, or very little, no financing for the police, because when we go into a depression, any depression, tax money pays for the police. So if there's no tax money, then there's no police force. If there's no police force, then, right? Now, obviously, communities will set up and make their own policing force eventually, or whatever, during that, we'll get by, I mean. But not as easily as you would think. More criminals have guns than citizens in Canada, that's for sure. Like, big time. They took away most of our guns, except for hunting rifles and stuff, so, but the criminals, I know in my lifetime, I've seen 4 or 5 handguns, couple fully automatic guns, couple like sniper rifles that were like suitcase guns that all came apart, went inside this cool little suitcase. This one gun, it was freaking neat. And semi-automatic, like 223, AR-15s, AR, shit like that, all kinds of those float by. And then like shotguns and stuff like that, like assault rifles and the things that the police would have. So, so the criminals have all those guns. All of them. They're out there. Every single one. I'm sure there's like Uzis and everything. It's still in Canada. Like, of course there is. Just because I haven't seen it. I'm not really a criminal. For me to be seeing one gun was a big deal in my lifetime. To see that many over my lifetime has been eye-opening. Right? And they're not expensive. I had a Beretta offered to me for, it was $600, 15-shot clip, semi-automatic handgun. And then there was a 45, like Clint Eastwood's, and it had the short barrel and the long barrel, real nice gun. That one was like 800. And then another one of those, another 45, more recently, is 1400. I don't know what the M1 was worth when I seen it there. Or the suitcase gun or whatever, but I would think $500, $600 back then. All those guns were, all the 223s and all that kind of stuff, they were just floating around. So, yeah. Anyway. it'll take a little while for things to straighten out. There's more of us. And the police that retire have guns. And like, I also know collectors around who have like hundreds of guns in their safe that are all legal, all numbered. So chances are they'll all get confiscated here soon. But I mean, there are still legal guns in Canada too. So there are still policing methods in small towns and communities and stuff like that. So won't be. I think it'll probably, like, theft and stuff like that will become less of a problem, because right now there was a young fella in the neighborhood out just outside of town, and he was breaking into everybody's garages and houses, stealing four-wheelers and all kinds of stuff. And he did all the whole neighborhood, and everybody knew who it was, the cops included, and they kept calling the cops and telling them, it's this guy, go get him. And then the cops just kept saying, no, we can't, we have no evidence, we'd have no case, we have to blah blah blah, we can leave him alone. And so eventually all the homeowners got together one night and they went to his apartment, and they were calling him out, and of course he calls the cops, and then they're useful to come and defend the criminal, and start writing tickets to citizens who were trying to defend their homes because the cops couldn't. Do you see how that's totally broken system? Like, what? You're defending the criminal. At the very least, the cops should have just been like, oh, well, whoops, turned his fucking back and went home for the night. Fuck it. Let the town deal with it. The system's that broken that, even if you did get a case and arrest this kid, put him in jail, he'd be right back out on the street worse than he was. Because when they go to jail, they get exercise and they get they meet all these new people and learn a bunch of new stuff. It's like school for criminals. And then they come out tougher, cleaner, better criminals, and keep right on trucking. They never stop. They don't rehabilitate in jail. The system does not work. But a good thumping would rehabilitate somebody. They wouldn't have killed him, but they would have kicked the shit out of him, and he wouldn't have been going back to Grand Bay. And it would have set an example that you don't fuck around in Grand Bay or you get fucked up. At least it's something. It's some kind of policing, because right now there's none. None. The cop was just like, yeah, we know it's him. Yeah, we have this, but we don't really have anything. We can't really convict him. We're not going to be able to do anything. Sorry about your luck. He's going to keep breaking into your homes. Go fuck yourselves, basically. And then when you try to do something about it, they show up and say, you can't do anything about it. Don't protect your home. Get the fuck out of here. If you do, I'm going to fine you and fuck up your fucking life, so maybe you'll lose your home. Thanks, my hero. And then people say, what would we do without the cops? Well, we'd do a lot better without them, I'll tell you that. Right? You think that, same as like government roads and shit like that. What would we do without the government making our roads? We'd make them. Like when Irving needed a new road, he just makes it. When they need to make logging roads and bridges and all that kind of shit to get from A to B, they just make it. When people need to get to their properties and they need to make roads so that they can get to work and back, they make them. Right? They just get made. People just make those roads. And then as that road goes this far, you can actually go and continue the road past there, right? And it would be exponentially cheaper if we had just let it all happen privately. Yeah, those few companies that get the road contracts wouldn't be rolling in government money that they just bid way too high, bid way too much, waste fucking hours and money and waste, and do shitty work in order to get more work later, right? Oh, well, if you put the full amount of cement down or of asphalt down that you're supposed to, then the road will last too long, so put a little bit less and then we'll get another job. We'll be back here in 10 years and we'll make work project. And they keep doing it. And that's the way it works in driveways, and that's the way it works kind of everywhere. But at least if it was private, you'd be able to, I'd be right there if it was me paying for it. Just like if it was my driveway, I'm right on, and if you ever get your driveway paved, stay out on top of them. Make a little stick. Say, fuck, that's not 3 inches. Because they'll rip you. Anyway. But when it comes to the government contract, they're not just ripping you that way. They're ripping you every which way. As a contract guy that's been in the trades and stuff, every time somebody says, oh, yeah, I got this government contract, the other people all say, oh, you must be making all kinds of money there. Good for you. You're going to coin her. Blah, blah, gravy. That's your money, you stupid fuckers. Oh my God. You're so brain dead. How do you not know that when you're ripping off the government, you're ripping off everybody, including yourself? Because you pay the fucking government. You pay them to exist. They're a middleman between you and you, in a lot of cases. If you're working on a road that you fucking use to get to work on anyways, that you would have to fucking work on, but you're paying this government official to make sure that you work on the road that you would have worked on any fucking way. And what the fuck is he for? How is this guy useful at all? He's not. You take him out of the equation, there's thousands of dollars a year, like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year per fucking idiot, saved. And these people are the talentless ones. All these leeches. They cannot do anything. They can't provide any service or do anything. The only thing they can do is get in the middle and pass money back and forth and sift or some into their pocket. Just a fucking shill game from a talentless schmuck who would starve to death and die on the street. Otherwise, he'd be the bum. And the guy who's the bum, chances are, would be doing good, pumping gas somewheres. 9 out of 10. Making a really good living because there's no fucking douchebag middleman taking half his paycheck. Do you understand how they destroy the economy just by existing? They're a leech. It's the analogy of when you're out in the woods and you get lost and you're starving to death. You can only cut your foot off so many times. Once per foot. Eventually you're going to run out of fucking feet to eat. You can't eat yourself. You can't feed off of yourself. Right? So when your buddy who works for the school board bitches about taxes, well, that's our taxes. If you work for the government, then you don't pay taxes. You get paid by taxes, and you're the problem. If you work for the hospital, same deal. You're actually the problem when it comes to economy and taxes, because you're working for an entity that's so full of middlemen that it's gonna just hemorrhage money. It has to hemorrhage money. And rather than getting paid by the people who need you, patients to doctors, when they need you, right? You're getting paid by this conglomerate that's just robbing everybody, right? So when you pay taxes, see, they take my money and then they pay you and then they take some of yours back, but it's still just my money. You never fucking paid anything. You put some work equity in, right? Your sweat equity's there, but you didn't put any money into the system. So you're not paying off any of the debt and you're not paying any of the middlemen. You're just putting in equity that there isn't enough money to pay for because there's too much middleman. And I've heard this said by different people, different ways, all the time, but I've always said when I was tutoring, I'd always try to apply what I was teaching to the student. You'd use different teaching methods for different people because they're going to understand things different. Everybody understands things differently, right? So if I was dealing with a pothead, I would apply pot math to the mathematical equations so that they could figure out how to do that. And with anybody, most people anyway, like money, right? So you could always bring money into the equation, and really good way to explain fractions and stuff to people to really break it down, right? Because you're breaking down quarters and stuff like that, or clocks. But I mean, different methods for different people, right? And so when depends on what you're teaching, how you can apply it to different things, right? But like algebra could easily be applied to pot as well, because you know, if quarters are this much and I have this much, you know, I got this much weed, how much did I pay for it? You know what I mean? Like, and bang, they figure it out just like that. And you know, so what I paid for it was X, but it, you know, it's over here in the equation, but I know, you know, what everybody pays, and I know how much I have, and you know, how much money did I pay. So you work the equation backwards and then they figure it right out. A lot of times they'll just shoot an answer out before you even tell them how they did it. They already know. They just didn't know that they knew how to do that. They didn't know what it was that they were trying to accomplish, so they couldn't accomplish it properly. But once figured out what it was, they knew already how to do it. Like, in most cases, right? They just didn't understand how you presented the question to them. Cheers.